Hey, how are you? My name is Ben, and I am a bald movie buff. The American Film Institute made a list in 2007 of the 100 greatest American films of all time. Now, this is a list I've been familiar with since basically it first came out, and I've spent a lot of time looking at it and trying to get through all the films on this list. About 2 months ago, when I found myself with a lot of time on my hands, I noticed that I had seen 93 of the 100 films. And I thought it'd be cool to spend this recent time to catch up on those 7 films, so that way I had seen every single film on this list. And I just finished the last film a few weeks ago, so now I thought it'd be cool to basically talk about this list to give my opinion, because I can judge the whole list. I've seen every single movie on it. Obviously, I don't have enough time to talk about every single movie here, but I thought it'd be cool to kind of give some thoughts and talk about this for a few minutes. So, what do I think of the list? It's a pretty good list. There are some movies on this list that I love, that I think are great and are masterpieces that everyone should see. There are some movies on this list that are pretty good, and then there are a few that are decent, but I can still understand why they were put there. I think the list has lots of movies that are definitely essential viewing, whether the films are great or not. They're definitely worth seeing at least once. I like the variety of this list. The earliest film, Intolerance, came out in 1916, and the latest film on this list is Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring, which came out in 2001. One of the nice things about this list is that I feel like there are a lot of genres involved. So even though a lot of these films can more or less be considered dramas, you have war films, you have horror films, you have adventure films, you have musicals, you have comedies, you have crime films, sports films, historical films. I think there's a lot of good variety there to keep all sorts of different moviegoers interested. So, having seen every single film on this list, I thought it'd be fun to do a bit of a hypothetical exercise, if you will. Keep in mind that the actual list had contributions from 1,500 people, and the exercise I'm about to do is obviously just based on my preference, so keep that in mind, that obviously this is just my opinion, but I thought it'd be fun to take some of the films on this list and put them into 3 categories, right? The first category will be movies that I think are ranked too high on the list, and I would personally, if I was in charge of this list, would move them down. Movies that I think are too low on the list and I think should be moved up to a higher ranking, and movies that I think are perfectly fine where they are. The ranking that they've been given is one that I agree with. So without further ado, let's get to the movies that I think are too high on the list. Casablanca and Raging Bull are 2 movies that I've seen before, and I think they're good, but I don't think they blew me away like other films on this list, so I would not put them in the top 10. I'd probably put them somewhere in like the 50s or 60s, to be honest. Please feel free to share in the comments below why I'm wrong. The Searchers is another movie that is pretty high up on the list, and I've seen it once, and I thought it was good, and that's about it. So once again, I would probably put it in the 70s or 80s. Sorry, Marty. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is a movie that I saw once in university, and I'm not sure if I got it. I'll be honest in that part, that maybe there's something that I'm missing. I watched a film about 2 couples that argue a lot about different things, and it got kind of repetitive after a while, so I would move that pretty low on my list. 2 last ones would be Swing Time and Sophie's Choice. These movies are 2 of the 7 that I watched recently, so they're still pretty fresh in my memory. Decent films, for sure, and I can understand why both of them were put on this list, but there is no way that they are better than films like Goodfellas, Pulp Fiction, and Toy Story. At least on the bright side, movies like Toy Story, Pulp Fiction, and Goodfellas are all in the IMDb Top 250. I think all of them are actually in the top 100 rated movies on IMDb, whereas Swing Time and Sophie's Choice are nowhere to be found on the top 250, and I understand that. As for the films that are too low on this list, I think it should be no surprise that a movie like Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring, while I'm fairly glad with its current ranking, I would move it up way higher in my list. I'd probably put it in my top 5. Saving Private Ryan is also a movie that is just a very memorable one for me. The first 40 minutes are truly shocking, and I think this film is a little better than where the AFI has it on their list. I would probably put it in the top 40 films. Titanic, 12 Angry Men, and The Sixth Sense are among my favorite movies of all time, so I would also put those in the top 40 of my list. As for the three films that I mentioned earlier, Goodfellas I would put in the top 25, Pulp Fiction in the top 10, and Toy Story in the top 40. Now, the movies that I think are at the perfect ranking are as follows: Citizen Kane, Singin' in the Rain, Schindler's List, Star Wars, It's a Wonderful Life, Some Like It Hot, and E.T. I'll be honest, a movie like Citizen Kane isn't exactly one of my favorite movies, but it is a really good movie, and it is easily one of the best movies ever made. It just broke all the rules, created some new ones. It is so innovative in what it was doing at the time that it's hard to argue it being one of the best films ever made. So I feel like it being in the top spot of the list, it's kind of hard to get around it. So I think it's fine where it is. So at the end of the day, it's a pretty cool feeling knowing that I've seen every single movie on this list. I definitely recommend this list, especially if you have some downtime and you're looking for a big list of movies to tackle. I think this is one that could definitely be worth checking out. So thank you so much for watching this video. Feel free to comment below, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, share and like this video, and I will see you in the next one.